Hey, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Fiqh al-Hanbaliya في inayat containers, the Hanbali fiqh and containers. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalam ala Rasul al-Kareem. ربنا تقبل منا زدنا علما وحكمة وأسأل الله أن يوفقنا لما يحب ويرضى إن ينفعنا ما علمنا علمنا بما ينفعنا اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما اللهم آتنا نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها وليها ومولاها الحمد شكرا أما بعد. All the praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that happens in the world is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah's peace and blessings and the salawat wa salam be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he's the example that we follow. So now continue on the fiqh al-Hanbaliya from Imam Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, what he has on the rulings pertaining to the tahara on the containers, on the inayat. And this is from the Umdah from Ibn Qudamah on his summary Mukhtasar on the rulings on the Hanbali fiqh. And the second chapter on the book of the Tahara is on the utensils. The first chapter is on Bab al-Miyah, on the waters, which a person, when they do the wudu and the ghusl, they have to make sure that they use the right type of liquids and the right type of fluids. And the next chapter they go on is on the inayat, the containers where you keep this water and keep the other things. So these are the rulings that pertain to it. Okay, Noah, you want to read the first one? Read it out loud.
Is it not allowed to utilize containers of gold and silver, whether pure or not?
Yes. So that's one of the things that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that if you have the containers from gold and silver, that's not allowed for Muslims to use them, made from gold and silver. So over here sometimes you have plates made from gold, plates made from silver, things like that. That's haram to use them in Islam. To use the aniya, the containers, the cups made from gold, those are not allowed to use them from gold and silver. Just like for men are not allowed to wear the gold, but they're allowed to wear silver, and women they're allowed to wear the jewelry. But in the containers, it's not allowed for either of them, for men or women to use the gold and silver containers. Okay, the Sheikh في ثانية number 2 العربية that read.
لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تشربوا في آنية الذهب والفضة.
No. So قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, do not eat from gold or silver, aniya, utensils, containers from gold and silver. This is a direct statement from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And what happens is, if you see other people doing it, it's not appropriate to yell at them or beat them up and things like that. But you say nicely to other people, inshallah. You explain to them that this is the ruling of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's one of the things to bear in mind. And some people, they might be invited to somebody's house, and person they serve them and things like that. So person they have to be nice to the other people, and likewise in other occasions. So that's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, not to eat from the gold and the silver utensils. In Arabic, they use the word for gold, dhahaba. Dhahaba is the word for gold, and fidda is the word for silver. And in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they used to use them for the money for the currency. So you used to buy things from the dinars, which are made from gold, and the dirhams, which are made from silver. So those things, that's where you have the gold and the silver that come into play. But when you have the utensils, it's not allowed for gold and silver. All right. Okay, now we read number 3.
And do not eat with those silverware.
No sihahi fiha. So what this means is that also, like the forks and the spoons and the knives and things like that, if they're made from gold and silver, that's also not allowed. Not just the bowls and the cups and the plates, but also the sihafwa, the other silverware that a person that they have in gold and silver, that's also haram. And that's something that's very common in America. A lot of people, they have real silver that they use in forks and spoons and things like that. And those things are not allowed. Those things are haram. Okay, check أربعة.
فإنها لهم
هذه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that these things are for them in the dunya, yani the kuffar, and for us in the akhirah, in the Jannah. So the things in the Jannah, sometimes you have things in the dunya that it's not allowed for Muslims, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the good rewards for them in the Jannah, which is allowed for them. And one of the things is the gold and silver utensils, and that's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that that's for them in the dunya and for us in the akhirah. And in the Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in so many places in the Quran, kawarira min fidda, you have utensils from silver, you have utensils from gold, you have the whole Jannah made from gold, the whole Jannah made from silver. So there's a lot of rewards for the believers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for them in the Jannah and the Akhirah. They have all these delights and these luxurious things in the Akhirah. But in this dunya, it's not allowed for Muslims to do it. And the kuffar, they do these things in the dunya, and if they do that in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, see, it's only a little bit of time that they have, because the kuffar over here in this world, if they disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just a little bit of time before the death comes, they're going to die, and then they'll be in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will repay them for what they did in this world. And likewise, the believers, people are poor and needy, they don't have many of the things, but in the Akhirah, Allah has made it for them in the Jannah. Allah ta'alamu nafsa ma ukhfiya lahum min qurrati a'yun. Said no soul knows what the delights of the eye, qurrati a'yun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for them in the Jannah. And so a person, they should avoid these things in the dunya and bear in mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made them for them, made these things for them in the Akhirah, which lasts forever, and the Jannah is arduha samawati wal ardh. That's one of the things. It's a very big place in the Jannah. Okay, inshallah, number 5, Noe, read that one.
The rulings for the latch is the ruling for it, except if it is a small amount of silver.
Okay, inshallah, this is talking about sometimes you have clasps that go around things, and watches, for example, and bracelets and things like that. So it's not allowed for the gold and silver, but if just the clasp is made from gold and silver, it's a tiny amount, so that's negligible. Like a watch, if you have a watch, a person, they can wear a watch. It's not allowed to wear a gold watch for men, but if they have one with just the hands made from gold, then that's allowed, because the amount is very tiny. So that's literally what the Sheikh, he said in the utensils of the person they have. And like the cup, sometimes you have the handle that's in the cup. So that's what he means by the utensil. If the handle is just made from silver, and then not the whole thing made from silver, then that amount that you can neglect it, the amount that's there. All right. So if it's a tiny amount, that's allowed. But it shouldn't be like mostly made from gold and silver. Just if a small amount that's there, then that's excused. That's what the Sheikh mentioned over there. If you have the utensils made from gold and silver, the clasps, and this thing here, like you see this cup over here, like you have the clasps, the handle, min fidda yulabas, but like in a kullu fidda la yajuz. Inshallah. Okay. Yes. So the rest of it, it's allowed to use as long as it's pure. It's not something that's impure on it. This is the chapter of the inayat, so this is what it's talking about. So if there is a part of it that's made from silver, it's allowed to use the rest of it. So it's part of the same thing as on the previous one, on 5. And the other thing, it has to be pure. There shouldn't be any impurities in it, in the container. Because then if people, they put food with it, then the person, they're consuming the impurities along with in the container. If they're drinking something, if there's some najasa in it, some impurity in it, then you don't want to have those things in it as well. So you want to make sure that it's completely clean. And he talks about that later on, how to make it completely clean in one of the other points there. Okay, nobody want to read the next one?
Is it allowed to utilize the rest of the utensils?
So it is allowed, huh?
Is it allowed to utilize?
Not is it allowed, it is allowed.
It is allowed to utilize the containers of the people of book
Mhm.
and their clothes as long as no impurity is known.
Yes. Okay, in the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what happened is they went on Khaybar, and what happened is they had the pots and the pans they used to cook in from the people of the book. So they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam if they can utilize them, because they said that the people of the book, they cooked the pork and other things in it, the khinzir, that was haram. So what happened? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam first said to throw them out. Then they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can we wash them and use them? Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes, you can wash them and use them, these utensils. So that's the thing to bear in mind. You know, if you have the utensils of the Ahl Kitab, they might have cooked pork in it, they might have cooked lard, the pig oil and things like that. And then when you have it, you got to make sure that you clean it really good. Otherwise, you have those remnants that are left over from the pork, and then when you cook it, it mixes up with the regular food. But the Sheikh, he said there it's allowed to use it as long as it's clean, as long as there's no impurity in it that's known in the containers of the Ahl Kitab. Now, one of the other things to bear in mind that in the hadith it says not to eat and drink from from the things from that have the impurities in the Ahl Kitab. The thing to bear in mind also that some of the ulama, they interpret that says not to spend the time where a person they're going astray. Because if a person they spend a lot of time with people that do the shirk, then sometimes they start inclining to them and imitating them, following them, and then that's not the right thing to do. We want people to go to the right way, not people that are on the right way to go astray. So if a person they are in the gathering of the Ahl Kitab and people that are going towards the Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's appropriate, if that's the case. But if they go there and a person they start losing their faith and losing their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, then that's not appropriate. So sometimes the ulama they interpret that as that eating from the utensils from the Ahl Kitab is a person spending time with them, and that's the case. In Islam, it's always appropriate to be good to everybody, even the non-Muslims, and be nice to them and be adl with them and bitter to them. But just a person should not lose their faith. If you go to the places and the person they're going away from Islam and they're going away from the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're going to shirk and things like that, and that's not appropriate. Bear that in mind. Okay, so that's what the Sheikh he said. He said that it's fine to use the containers of the people of the book and also their clothing as long as it's not impure. The libas fi Ahl Kitab, as long as those things are not impure. And the other thing is there's a section on the libas, the person that have to cover their aura and not wear silk for men. That's another thing about the men, not to wear silk clothing for men when they have. And then make sure that it's not revealing for the women. One of the things on the Day of Judgment, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the women, arya lakin laysa bi arya. They're going to be like literally naked, but they're not going to be naked. So that's the thing to bear in mind. The clothing, make sure that it's not revealing and transparent and showing the aura. So besides that, it's allowed to wear the clothing of the Ahl Kitab as long as it's not impure. Okay, inshallah, number 8. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now he goes into the other topic. He says the sof, the maytata, was shir, how the tahir. So you have some dead animals. The sof refers to the sheep. So normally speaking, if a sheep is maytata, it dies without slaughtering it, then you can't eat the sheep's meat. The meat is haram. Maytata, you have to make sure you slaughter it and make sure the blood comes out. But the sof is allowed. The sof, the wool of the sheep is allowed, and a person they can use it to make the clothing, the sweaters and things like that. So that's allowed. And also the sof share. The hair is allowed from the dead animals also. So a person they can use them as well. Now the question is, what's the difference between a goat and a sheep? Noe, do you know the difference? A goat and a sheep. Hmm? And a sheep has horns too, some of them. So that's not the difference. And a lot of times it's very hard to tell the difference. You know, if you go to a farm, you see a goat and a sheep, they look almost exactly alike. So then you have to determine if it's a goat or a sheep. So what's the difference? Even in Islam, when you have the term shat, you say, so it could be a goat or a sheep. You say ghanam, it could be a goat or a sheep, so it's not like specific. So what's the difference, Nawi? Let me tell you the difference, okay? The sheep, they have sof, they have wool. No, dan in the be sof. And the goats, they have shir. The goats, they have hair. So that's the difference between the two there. So, you know, if those animals, they're dead, then it's allowed to use their wool and their hair. That's what the Sheikh said, that's fine. Okay, Chola, I'll read the next one. Nawi, read number 9.
And all the skins of dead animals, whether tamed or not, are impure.
Okay, so this is specific in the Hanbali school. So the Sheikh, he goes by that. The skin is the same as the meat. Because if you have a dead animal, an animal that died without slaughtering, without the blood coming out, then that's considered to be najis. The laham is considered to be najis. So the Sheikh, he says the same thing about the skin. The skin is also considered to be najis on the dead animal if it wasn't slaughtered properly. That's what the Sheikh, he said. So you find some rulings, they talk about that, about the things that are najis. If it's dead and it's been sitting there, then that's considered to be impure. And likewise, the skin is impure. So he says that whether it's tanned or not. Okay. This is specific in the Hanbali school. He says that it's impure, but in the other schools, in the Akhir ulama, they say that when you tan it, it becomes pure. And you find that they say that because even in pig meat, they say, you know, the jil min khinzir, the yasbighada, if you tan it, and they say it becomes pure. So they have a lot of different rulings. And some of the ulama, they say that you can use it for dry applications, but you can't use it for wet applications. And what they used to do at the time of Rasulullah, they used to keep the water in the skins. In the jild, so some of the ulama, they say that you can use the skins once you tan them for things that are dry, chaff, but not on the things that are wet. So there are different rulings on the other ulama. But in the Hanbali school, the Sheikh over here, he mentions whether you tan them or not, they're considered to be najis, they're considered to be impure. That's the ruling that they have in the Hanbali school. Okay, all right, inshallah. No. And the same thing for the bones. You know, the bones, the Sheikh, he says it's the same ruling as the meat. You know, the meat, if it's dead, the meitata, najis, but dhalika idam. And the idam also, it's considered to be najis. That's for the animals. That's what the Sheikh, he said. So like if a person, they're going through the forest and they find a dead gazelle, dead deer that's dead on the ground, then the Sheikh, he said all the parts are najis. The skin is najis, the meat is najis, the bones are najis, all those things. That's what the Sheikh, he said, that all of them are impure, all these parts over here. So that's what the Sheikh, he said. Likewise, the bones are considered to be najis, impure also. And back in the old days, people, they used to use bones to do other things. Sometimes they use the bones for, they use them as hard objects and things like that, and they use it to write things on and things like that. So the Sheikh, he said that the bones are considered to be najis of the meitata, of the dead animals. Okay, now we read number 11.
And all dead corpses are impure except human.
Yes. So I think I mentioned that before. The carrion and the dead corpses, if it's dead, then they're impure. And then we talked about that in the previous chapter. When the birds come, vultures come, and they eat these dead meat, then they eat what's called a jalla, they eat the impurity, and then you can't eat these vultures because they're eating the impurities. So the same thing he says over here, that you have the meat, of the dead animals, they're considered to be najis, impure, but not the humans. Humans is not impure. That's what the Shaykh said. So he made that as an exception. So the human, when a person they die, right? Then the body has a hurima, as a sacredness, so that's not considered to be impure. But any other animal, if it died, then the flesh is considered to be impure. If it died without slaughtering, without the blood coming out. That's what the Shaykh said. Okay, all right. So let's go to the next one.
وحيوان الماء الذي لا يعيش إلا فيه لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في البحر هو الطهور ماؤه الحل ميتته.
Yes, inshallah. So the Shaykh is saying that the animals that live in the water, if they're dead, they're not considered to be najis, and they're considered to be halal, because that's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith when he was asked about the bahr, the water in the bahr. So innahu hillu ma'ahu innahu tahurun ma'ahu wal hillu maytatu. The first hadith on al-bahr. This is the first hadith in the books of fiqh. Some sailors, they used to go on the ocean, and they brought water with them, fresh water, because of the salty water, they can't drink the salty water. So they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can they use the water in the ocean to do the wudu and the ghusl? Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Anil bahr, innahu tahuru ma'ahu, you can use the water from the sea and the ocean, even if it's salty. And hillu maytatu, that means the animals that live in there are allowed. So if you have these animals in the water, if you take them out, they're going to die. You didn't slaughter them, so they're not considered to be najis. They're considered to be tahir, the animals in the water. And the Shaykh said the ones that live permanently in the water, because you have some animals that live sometimes in the water, sometimes outside of the water. So he didn't go into, he said the ones specifically that live all the time in the water, if you take them out and they die, then they're not najis. They're considered to be tahir. Like for example, you have the lobster, you take it out, and then if it died, it's considered to be pure. But if you have an animal on the land, like a rabbit, if it died, it's impure. So that's the difference between it. And the shrimp and the other animals, all those are considered to be pure because they live in the water. So that's the exception for it. Okay, to read the next one. No, wait, number 13.
14.
No, number 14. Okay, inshallah. Noe?
Okay. وما لا نفس له نفس له سائلة إذا لم يكن متولدا من النجاسات.
Okay, inshallah. And the other thing he talks about is the animals that don't have the flowing blood, that wasn't born in impurities. So he's saying that those are not considered to be impure. Because normally speaking, what happens is the blood stays inside, and that's what makes the things impure. So sometimes some of the animals you have where they don't have the blood that flows with them, like some insects and things like that. So he said that those are considered to be pure as long as they're not living around the impurity. So that's what the Shaykh had mentioned. Okay, inshallah, so these are the things pertaining to the inayat. And the Shaykh, he mentioned in the beginning that it's not allowed to use the utensils of gold and silver. It's haram for the kuffar in the dunya and for us in the akhirah. But the small amount is excused. If you have like the handle on the cup, that's excused, but the whole thing is not made from gold and silver. You have mentioned that. And then some of the ulama, they talk about the things that people they wear. For men, it's not allowed to wear the gold, and likewise, it's not allowed to use the gold forks and spoons. And also, the ulama, they say the pens. A person, they shouldn't use a gold pen, 100% pure gold pen, because that's like using the utensils. And then they talk about gold plated, gold colored. And this over here, some of the ulama, they say that if it's gold plated, if it's gold plated, real gold around it, then that's not allowed because that's a real gold. But if it's just a color of gold, then that's excused. That's what they say, for men, that is, wear the gold things like gold watches. And the difference is the gold plated, if a person, they put the fire to it, and then you see that the gold melts. So that means it's gold plated. That's haram to wear that. But if you put the fire to it and the color disappears, then that's gold colored, and that's fine. That's what the ulama they say. It's not a amount that's a significant amount of gold. Just like the Sheikh had mentioned for the class. The class is made from silver, but the rest is not made from silver, then that's allowed. So the same thing the ulama they say for the things that are plated with gold. If it flows as gold, it's not allowed. If it doesn't flow, then it's allowed. The other thing to keep in mind is that you don't want people that don't know that it's not real gold to see it, then they might get the wrong idea. The person, they have a gold-colored watch. Somebody comes along and says, "Oh, mashallah, he's wearing a real gold watch," So that's the thing to bear in mind, to avoid that, so it's not seen. Like this is what the ulama, some of the ulama, they say. Okay, inshallah, and some of the things also in the Hanbali school is mentioned specifically in tanning the skins. People that have the skins when they tan them, and some of the other schools they say once you tan them, it purifies them so they become pure. So even the dog skin and the pig skin, they say it's allowed. But in the Hanbali school, they say no, it's not allowed to tan them even from dead animals. If you have the skin from dead animals, it's just like the meat. Say it's haram. So that's what they say in the Hanbali school. And then the Sheikh, he also mentioned from the Ahl al-Kitab, the person they have the utensils from the Ahl al-Kitab, to make sure you wash them, so that the remnants of the pork and things like that are not on there. And so those are the things that the Sheikh mentioned. One of the things that Sheikh mentioned, maybe that's coming up, and maybe that was in the previous lesson, if you have a dog that licks a bowl, then what you have to do is you have to wash it 7 times. 7 times, the bowl. 1 time with dirt. That's what they say in the Hanbali school. The other school, they say 7 times. Sabamara, yaksila, sabamara. If a dog comes and licks on it, to wash it 7 times. And the Hanbali school, they say the same thing, 7 times, and 1 time with the dirt. That's what they say in the Hanbali school. If a dog comes, and that happened in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The dog came, and the Sheikh, he mentioned that in another lesson. Okay, inshallah, so these things, people, they study the things in the fiqh, and then, they learn more and more aspects, and their mind starts thinking that way, and then they come to the conclusions, and the things based on the knowledge in the school that they learned on the fiqh, and the knowledge that they learned, inshallah. Okay, inshallah, we'll stop over here, inshallah. سبحان الله وبحمده أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.